Right.
Okay, very well. So, Moumina,
Yes.
could you introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and how this work came into your life and how it's changed your life?
Yes. Okay, so when I was 19, I was studying dance therapy in London, and I decided to go to India. I had this strong attraction to go to India, and I went to India to learn Indian dancing because I'd seen an Indian dancer performing in London, and when I saw her I got shivers all over from head to toe, and I felt I want to learn that dancing. So I went to India, and while I was in India I went by sort of mysterious way to Pune, because I didn't plan to go there. I didn't plan to go to Pune, but I went because in India things happen that you don't plan. So I hadn't planned to go to Pune, but once I was in India it could have guided me there. And so I went to Pune, and when I was in Osho's ashram, I just felt that that was the place I'd always been dreaming of my whole life. So I didn't go back to the dancing school, and I just stayed there. Okay, so that's the kind of beginning.
Okay. And, that's how this work came into your life, right?
Well, I started then to meditate, and I participated in everything that was possible there. It was like a feast of things. There was everything available. So I participated in everything, and then I started participating in groups, and when I was in the groups I just felt this is the place where I want to be, because I just fell in love with it, what was happening, people getting free, everything being possible. So my idea was I would like to be a group assistant, so I can be in groups. I didn't want to be a therapist, that seemed much too difficult. So then I did a training, a long training in bodywork, and part of that training was assisting in groups. It was 2 therapists leading it, and they did also body groups, and I just loved being an assistant in the groups. And in the end, when I'd finished that training, there was a time when Osho said he wanted more therapists. So many therapists had come to Pune, therapists from the beginning of the human potential movement, which was in California and in London, and probably in Germany as well. And it was like a new movement. It was called the human potential movement. And so it was a complete explosion of new ways of working with people. And many of those therapists came to Osho, and he said he wanted more therapists to be trained. And I just happened at that time, I wanted to be a group assistant, and so I was picked to be trained as a next generation of therapists. And then I had an amazing training because I was in all the different groups. I was assisting in groups for years and years at the same time as being trained in all these different methods. So it was extremely rich, from dance to encounter groups, to bioenergetics, to pulsation, to rebirthing, everything. And so that's how I was being trained.
Okay, so that's how you get, this deep understanding of people and how to work with people. And
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about, your experience when you were director of the Transformation Center at the Osho Meditation Resort in India?
Yes, so
And how you were helping people to transform their lives through this work?
yes. Well, so just gradually I sort of grew into it, because I had never had this idea to be a therapist, but it just grew, just as things happened in Pune. And once I started doing it, I started in Pune. At first I was being trained, and then I was in Osho's commune. We had them all around the world, and I was in England, and then I was 24 years old, and that's when I was asked to start leading groups. So I've been 5 years trained, and then I had to start leading the groups, and at the same time I was still being trained. Mm-hmm. So this was a very special situation, because I wasn't on my own. If I think of myself, if I was 24 years old, had to lead a group somewhere in London, no, it wouldn't be possible. But I was in this completely supportive community with 12 other therapists, and so I would lead my group, and if something happened that I didn't know what to do, I would go in the tea break and say, "Oh, help, I don't know what to do." And they would say, "Oh, try this, try that," and I would go back. And so somehow the trust just grew like this. And the trust was in something not in myself, it was a trust in the space that Osho created. So we always knew, all the therapists knew, it's Osho who's doing this work. He's coming through us somehow. When we relax, when we're not so there with our mind, then something can happen. So this is how we learn to be therapists, not by having lots of brilliant skills or brilliant knowledge. You might have that as well, but it was more like getting out of the way, and then something else could come. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that wasn't really answering your question directly, but that's what came next. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, who can benefit from this kind of work that you do? You know, what kind of people can benefit, and what can they expect for their lives and for their jobs?
Yes.
Is it for anybody, or what kind of people?
Yes. Well, it's for anybody, but they need the impulse themselves to come. Mm-hmm. Okay. So all this work, it starts from the person's own impulse, but they have the interest to come.
Mm-hmm. And what can they expect from the kind of work that you do?
Okay, so my work always starts with the body. Mm-hmm. It always starts with the body, because that for me is the ground. But because I was exposed to so many different methods, it can go in different directions. But it's always starting with the body, mm-hmm. and coming back to the body, because for me that's the ground, and that was the ground that is mm-hmm. healing for myself. That's my meditation, is to feel my body, and that brings me into the present. So that's the basis. But I also enjoy doing many other different things in a group than just body work. Mm-hmm. So I sometimes use constellations, or star sapphire, male and female, and other different methods. But it's always coming back to the body, because that's my meditation, that I can trust in myself, so I can know I can trust in that for other people. Mm-hmm. Mm.
And once people are back in their bodies, what do you feel that are the impacts that have in their selves, in their lives, or in their work? What could be coming out of that?
Yes, well, in many ways, depending where they are in their lives, but most people are living in a way that gives them no space to feel contact with their body at all. And more I see people in the world, and they have a longing now to connect with the body, but they try so they try to do yoga because they want to relax. They try different things because they're desperate to find some relaxation. But often, well, it's great if they do that. But here we can go further because Osho made a much bigger space than just one method. So we can go further than what you would do in yoga or something like that. Because Osho made space for all the aspects of a person, starting with the body, but then all the different aspects. So how it's going to affect in their lives, just to be able to pay attention to your body makes a huge change in your life. Because rather than listening to what's wanted from you, from the outside, which people have tons of pressures. The family wants something, the work wants something, there's all these demands on you. And they're so strong that the person has no time to feel themselves or to connect with their own body. And so in fact their body can get very damaged because they're being pulled with all these demands. And so to start to feel their own body, they can start to feel what they need, and they can start to feel their own rhythm to do things. Because when you're all the time pulled by other people, you're out of your rhythm completely. And usually the rhythm is much too fast. In general, that's how it is. It's really, really fast. And that totally ungrounds you, takes you right out of your body. So just to start to feel your body, you can start to find your own rhythm. You can start to feel what you need, and you are start to be able to connect with your inner world and the space of meditation without just being driven by all the forces on the outside.
Okay, can you pause?